Biafra and your support Biafra at Biafra here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, depending on where you're watching me from. Biafrans, lovers of freedom, people of goodwill, I bring you another news. Into breaking one, Brics ignores Nigeria, invite Ethiopia, Egypt, others to join bloc. This news is to prove to the doubting Thomas that Nigeria is gone. That British biggest zoo company in Africa is gone, and there is nothing anybody can do about it. Nigeria isn't supposed to exist in the first place, but they forced Nigeria on us. So right now, the whole world has finally acknowledged that Nigeria is a dead country and a country that doesn't supposed to exist in the first place. For South Africa and other countries that is in Brics to ignore Nigeria and invite Ethiopia, Egypt, and other countries means that they are aware that Nigeria has expired and it's time to scatter that British company. So before we continue with the analysis, I would like to go straight to this very news, okay? So here is the news in detail. Brics ignores Nigeria, invite Ethiopia, Egypt, others to join bloc. The Brics group of developing nations has ignored Nigeria as they invited Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Argentina, among others, to become new member of the bloc. This came after Vice President Kashim Shettima attended the Brics summit as a representative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Johannesburg, South Africa. Mr. Shettima declared that the federal government was passionate about empowering micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, for the development of the nation's economy during a tour of exhibition stand at the Brics Trade Fair. Ramaphosa, South African president, who is also hosting the summit of Brics leaders, announced the new members. Mr. Ramaphosa added that the new candidate will be formally admitted as members on January 1st, 2024. The membership will take effect from January 1st, 2024, he added. The invitation, according to report, was in line with the move aimed at growing the cloud of a bloc that has pledged to champion the global south. Debate over expanding the Brics bloc, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has toppled the agenda at a 3-day summit in Johannesburg. Although more than 40 countries have expressed interest in joining Brics, but 22 have formally asked to be admitted. The countries are being attracted by Brics' promises to rebalance world bodies dominated by the United States and other wealthy Western states. So, dear friends, that is the news, and I'm going to read out another post from somebody, Okechukwu. The person's name is Okechukwu. I'm going to read out this very post concerning this very Brics. He explained a whole lot there. So, before we continue, I would like to let you know that for South Africa and other countries that in these Brics, rejecting Nigeria means they have seen that Nigeria and its government, it's a puppet. They're being controlled by Britain. If you're listening very well, you didn't hear Britain there. They didn't hear US. So they're not going to work against themselves. So these countries now don't want monkey's hand. You understand? So they know that Nigeria can do anything, or Nigeria is being ruled or controlled by Britain. So it's not going to work. That is why they rejected them. And moreover, Nigeria is an exiled country, exiled state that doesn't supposed to exist in the first place, but it managed to exist since. And since the expiration of it, they have failed to do the needful by allowing those that want freedom to go. They are running illegal state or illegal country, whichever one. Okay? So that is for you to know. Failed before initiating it. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. So any plan without us is failed on arrival. Keep deceiving yourself. Keep deceiving yourself. That is why I said that this news is for doubting Thomas. Somebody said, Mr. Cash, you said that giant of what exactly? What do you produce? You don't produce ordinary pencil, or should I say toothpick. You don't produce anything new. Like your senators and this thing always lament that Nigeria import toothpick with $18 million. Are you not ashamed of yourself? Well, that is you people's business. That is you people's business, okay? And moreover, they also know that the president of Nigeria is not supposed to be the president. That is another reason, because they don't know who will be in power for the next few months. That is another reason. So we're going to read what this person posted about this Brics. He said, new map of Brics. That's nearly 70% of global oil production. And they are all moving away from the US from the US dollar. Because if they don't, they can someday be sanctioned just like Russia. See? Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. You know, back in the days, the global economy used to run on something called the gold standard. It was a system in which a country's currency was linked to the value of gold. For instance, in those days, about early 20th century, one US dollar meant 1/20 of an ounce of gold, which implied it would take $20 note to purchase an ounce of gold. And if you had an ounce of gold, you automatically had 20 US dollars. Great, right? But they ended it. It started with Roosevelt, who forced Americans to convert their gold coins into US dollar during the Great Depression, and the President Nixon, who under the influence of colonial Europe, ended the practice permanently in 1971. Others followed. But guess what? Just 2 years after ending the global standard, in 1973, the petrodollar system was created through a deal between the US and Saudi Arabia. The two countries agreed to practice and trade oil in US dollar, with oil standardized in terms of dollars. Any country that purchased oil from Saudi Arabia would have to use the US dollar to make that happen. Given that Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter, many other oil producing countries also standardize their own oil price in US dollar. So it was no longer Saudi oil that you had to buy with US dollar. It was now oil from virtually all the member states that make up OPEC, and so the petrodollar system was born. Nations abandoned their own currency and traded oil, energy, and so much more in US dollar. The dollar kept swelling in popularity and dominance unchallenged until recently. But keep in mind that the new dollar that replaced the one backed with gold is now regarded as a fiat. Fiat. Fate in Latin is fere, which means arbitrary act or decree. It means that your paper money went from being backed with gold to being a legal tender backed only with government signature. That is it. So basically, people who have abundance of gold, say in Africa, who could have been able to use their gold to purchase any kind of good life they desire or pay off any debt they owe, will no longer be able to do that. Rather, a worthless price of paper is printed, backed with nothing, yet used to purchase the gold that's actually the real treasure from Africans. Oil and all manner of treasures are purchased with the same useless piece of paper that you all call money. The colonial exploiters of these treasures store them in their own land, build an army around the treasures in our own land, and all we have is their worthless pieces of paper in our lazy banks. This is topic for another day, but give you a glimpse of how they conquered us. I guess the conquest has now expired. Today, Brics is taking the global south and indeed our world back to gold-backed currency. And in this case, the proposed Brics currency that will serve as an alternative to the dollar. As you already know, Brics plus X will be the greatest undoing of the American economic might by the petrodollar, with about 70% of all of global oil production now set to dump the dollar, I don't see the US dollar standing a chance against the Brics currency that will be backed with gold. Whenever it shows up, I can see the United States hit with the kind of inflation the country hasn't seen in many decades. I can see America returning to something close to the days of the Great Depression as the dollar finally shed its glory and returned to the place of mourning. Granted, this is a journey, but it has just gained an unusual speed that even CNN admitted they didn't see coming. I can confidently tell you that we are now truly living in post-colonial days, and I am even more confident that my African freedom from colonial stronghold will happen in my lifetime. I really think you need more explanation because Mr. Okechukwu has really explained everything. You don't need to ask why they want to abandon dollar. The dollar is overrated. I've heard countless times and I know that there is nothing in that dollar. Seriously, there is nothing in it. It's just a paper printed. There is a politician that raised the alarm, House of Senate, asking why are they wasting what God gave to them because of ordinary paper, worthless paper. They were arguing, making noise. They didn't even allow him speak. The British politicians didn't even allow the man speak. All right. So they are using dollar is overrated because they're using it to milk African countries dry, or they're using it to steal their natural resources. They will be the one telling you how much they will buy your oil. And African leaders are falling for it. Not that they don't know. No, they don't know that the dollar is worthless. They are aware. But it's just that greediness will not allow them to see road. Well, that is it, dear friends. Zoo has been rejected. They rejected them. They don't want them because they know who they are. They are nothing but Britain's company that is unredeemable. So that is it. Brics ignores Nigeria, invite Ethiopia, Egypt, and others to join bloc. They abandoned them. They told them to go back from where they are coming from. They are not welcomed in Brics. So that is it, dear friends, lovers of freedom, people of goodwill. I will stop here. Don't forget to share, like, leave your comment at the comment section. So let the doubting Thomas continue doubting that Zoo is not gone. Zoo is gone forever. There is nothing they can do about it. They can't revive it. And Britain knows that is why they're keeping quiet, fighting through back door. It's too late for them. The freedom is here, and there is nothing they can do about it. We have tried enduring.